Welcome everybody. October 2nd for board meeting. Kelly, we have a roll call vote. Here.
Forsyth,
Here.
Lightfoot,
Here.
Sheridan,
Here.
Smithers,
Here.
Tanisha,
Here.
Here, Paul,
Here.
Hay,
Here.
Tiger, here, Webster,
Here.
Burke,
Here.
Jeanette,
Present.
Terminelli, here, Curran, present.
Thank you, Kelly. Now, Mr. Denisha will lead us in prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, this evening we thank you yet again for this opportunity to gather in your sight. Father, we ask that you grant us emotional, physical, and spiritual protection while helping us trust in you as our refuge and strength. Father, we pray that you will guard our minds from harmful instruction. Grant us discernment to recognize truth. Father, we pray that you will make us strong and courageous in the presence of difficult times, as by the frailty of our nature, we cannot always stand upright. Let us remember, as it is written, the book of Job, chapter 11, verse 18, and I quote, "You will be secure because there's hope." All these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, for whom all things are possible. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, I'd take a motion for the approval of the agenda. Ms. Curran, second by Mr. Dunant. Ms. Smithers, any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. For a motion for the approval of the minutes from September 11th by Ms. Curran, second by Mr. Perkins and Mr. Dunant. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Communication.
Resolution was received from Fulton County supporting Senate Bill S. 765. Letter was received from Philip Trevino requesting the board continue to support the county recreational trails and New York State trails. These trails can be a big part of the county and state economy. He is advocating for more connecting trails in the county. An invitation was received for all legislators to attend the Brown Deer Ramble Family Fun Day on Saturday, October 7th.
Thank you, Kelly. Now we're to the point of citizen participation. Any citizen wanting to address the board is asked to stand at the microphone and state their name before beginning the conversation for their talking. The citizen participation will be in the form of an oral address directed to the members of the board, although legislators or staff will not have the opportunity to answer questions and respond to the talk at this time. This part of the agenda is not a time for audio, visual, PowerPoint presentations or performances, and the address will be limited to a time of 5 minutes. And is there anyone that would like to address the board? It's the chance right here. This is it. Okay, we will move on to presentation of resolution. First up is Mr. Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd like to introduce a resolution proclaiming October as St. Lawrence County History Month and recognizing the county historian and all local historians for their contributions in preserving St. Lawrence County history, and move for its adoption.
And is there a second by Mr. Hall? Venetia, Ms. Kern, Ms. Terminelli. Everybody. Go ahead, Mr. Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank, and I think I speak for the entire board, I want to thank all of the community historians who are here tonight and the ones who weren't able to come here tonight, as well as all the people in our communities who are working with them to help preserve our community's history. I think too often, many people don't realize the important contribution that you, our historians, make to making our communities a better place. Too many children grow up with this notion that history is something that happened somewhere else. It didn't. It happened right here. And it's our job to preserve it, to tell about it, to celebrate it, and make use of it, because history can be a key part of our efforts to build our tourism economy and our economic development efforts. I own a small inn in Ogdensburg, and I'm always struck by the number of people who stay with me who tell me what a historic community I live in and how impressed they are that presidents once walked these streets, that the last battle of the French and Indian War was fought off our coast, that Revolutionary War battles were fought not far from where I live, that soldiers, British soldiers, once invaded the streets of Ogdensburg. They invaded Madrid. They invaded many areas of St. Lawrence County during the War of 1812. And too often we tend to forget these things. But you, our historians, every day do a great job of helping our communities realize what our ancestors did and what they went through to build the county we have today. So thank you. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you'll be doing in the future. As many of you know, we are preparing, we've set up a 250th commission to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday. We will be calling on all of you to help us plan that celebration, be involved in that celebration, get our communities involved in that celebration. So thank you. And we want to hear your ideas and we want your involvement. And thank you for coming out today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. I'd like to call on the county historian, Nancy LaFever.
Well, first, I want to thank all of you for passing the resolution to name St. Lawrence County History Month in October. And it's also fitting because it's New York State History Month as well. I also want to thank you for taking your time tonight to recognize a group of very dedicated people who are often left unrecognized, certainly underpaid. Ralph Marston is an author, and he said, excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. Our historians are skilled. What makes our historians excellent is their attitudes of excellence towards their work. It's my blessing to know them and to see their work firsthand. They do what they do because they love what they do. And I want to thank each one of you personally for letting me into your work. I know I may, and sometimes I annoy them, but I'm going to read the names, and as I do, I'd like them to stand so they can be recognized. And some of them are what's called a registered historian with the Association of Public Historians of New York State. And that's a very rigorous process to go through. You can't even apply unless you've been a historian for 3 years. There's a lot of other lot of other loopholes. So I just want to recognize them for that. So Donna Demick, Cameron, Victoria, Brian Thompson, Linda Casserly, Campton, Town and Village historian, and Billy, David Spring, Mark Fredan, Kristen, and as of tonight, and he will be on this. Hamilton, Lenore Zonier, and her husband. Madeline.
Is there any discussion?
Very happy.
Linda, I thought you were gonna ask for a pay raise. Very good. Just want to thank you all. What you do is so crucial to this county and overlooked very oftentimes, Mr. Ray, Nick, and Alan. Through history, we learn the future. So, yeah, thank you. All in favor of the resolution? Vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again. Next resolution. You can stick around, listen to this. Okay, on the resolution. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution modifying the 2023 budget for social services for the New York State Rental Supplement Program.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Manelli. Yes. Curran. Aye. Reagan.
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Hay,
Yes.
Haggard. Yes. Webster,
Aye.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Next resolution, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer a resolution proclaiming October 22nd through 29th, 2023 as National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in St. Lawrence County.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of the resolution, signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer a resolution modifying the 2023 to 2024 budget Community Services Stop DWI Program to accept the aid to localities Stop DWI Program distribution from the State of New York Governor's Traffic Safety Committee.
And is there a second by Mr. Byrd and Mr. Jeanette and Ms. Kern? Any discussion on the resolution? No discussion. This is a roll call. Ellen?
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli. Yes. Curran. Aye. Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Webster,
Motion carried. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer a resolution modifying the 2023 budget services for an outreach and engagement clinic model grant.
Is there a second? Mr. Kern, any discussion? Seeing no discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Carminelli? Yes. Curran? Aye. Reagan?
Aye.
Forsythe?
Yes.
Lightfoot?
Yes.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Yes.
Isha?
Yes. Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Tyler?
Carried. Ms. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer a resolution declaring October Domestic Violence Awareness Month in St. Lawrence County.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette and Mr. Reagan, Mr. Hall. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Ms. Kern.
I would just say that too often, the people who are affected by domestic violence fall by the wayside and are afraid to speak up and say something about how they're being treated. So I think that this is a start. Certainly, we don't have the services that I would really like to see, but it's hard to make them available. That so thank you for supporting this.
Further discussion? On favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. I have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign the contract with New York State Office of Homeland Security for a fiscal year 23 emergency management performance grant.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette, Mr. Hall. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Kern.
Thank you. I have a resolution modifying the 2023 Board of Elections budget for the Technology Innovation and Election Resource Tier Grant.
Is there a second by Mr. Sheridan and Mr. Jeanette? Any discussion on the resolution? No discussion. This is a roll call vote count.
Curran?
Aye.
Reagan?
Aye.
Forsythe?
Yes.
Lightfoot?
Yes.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Smithers?
Yes.
Anisha?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Webster?
Yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Kern.
I have a resolution proclaiming October 2023 as Cyber Security Awareness Month in St. Lawrence County.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers and Mr. Jeanette. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution modifying the 2023 budget for the Sheriff's Office for automobile, or automotive expense and fuel charges.
Is there a second? Mr. Jeanette and Mr. Perkins. Any discussion? No discussion on application. And this is a roll call.
Reagan?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Aye. Yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution modifying the 2023 budget for the Sheriff's Office for revenue received from New York State for state-ready inmates.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Smithers and Mr. Jeanette. Any discussion on the resolution? This is a roll call vote as well, Kelly.
I just wanted to clarify.
Oh.
I had someone ask me about this in the public. So what this is that when inmates have been sentenced and they are going to go to state jail for some period of time, on the days that they are still in our jail, the state pays us for that. That's where this money comes
Thank you, Ms. Kern. Now we'll do a roll call vote.
Forsythe?
Yes.
Lightfoot?
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Yes.
Tanisha,
Yes. Yes.
yes. Jeanette.
Motion carried. Ms. Curran.
Thank you. I have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with the New York State Office of Homeland Security to accept the fiscal year 23 State Homeland Security Preparedness Grant and modifying the 2023 budget for the Sheriff's Office and the Office of Emergency Services.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Lightfoot. Mr. Third, and Mr. Knapp. Any discussion on the resolution? No discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Tanisha,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
Paul, Hay,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Webster,
Aye. Yes.
Jeanette.
Aye.
Millie. Yes. Kern,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Curran.
Thank you. I have a resolution modifying the 2023 budget for the Sheriff's Office for 2022 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program funding from the Bureau of the Justice Department.
And is there a second? By Mr. Jeanette, Mr. Perkins, and Mr. Lightfoot. Any discussion? No discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Tanisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Hay,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Webster,
Aye.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli. Yes. Kern,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Curran.
I have a resolution modifying the 2023 budget for the Sheriff's Office for overtime expenses in the criminal division.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette and Mr. Fay. Any discussion? No discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Smithers,
Yes.
Tanisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Hay. Hay. Ryder,
Yes.
Webster,
Aye.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli. Yes. Kern,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Curran.
Department of Motor Vehicles.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette and Mr. Burke. Any discussion on the resolution? Once again, roll call vote.
Tanisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Hay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Webster,
Aye.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli.
Yes.
Kern,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Ms. Curran.
Yes, I have a proclamation. It's proclaiming October 15th, 2023 as Global Hand Washing Day in St. Lawrence County.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Lightfoot and Mr. Jeanette. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Curran.
In the chain of infection where it spreads from one person to the next, hand washing about 20 seconds on each side with soapy water and then drying your hands afterwards is the #1 way to reduce spread of infection worldwide.
Thank you for that information. Mr. Lightfoot, did you have something you want to comment
No, because you've heard it before, and I've become a very good hand washer in the past 50 years, so
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, I would ask if she's amenable to it, Ms. Curran, to explain the importance of hand washing versus using sanitizer as an alternative to proper hand washing.
Well, Ms. Curran's willing to accept that.
Sure,
Okay.
it's better than nothing.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the resolution?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. Ms. Kern?
Authorizing the chair to sign a contract for New York State. Under state.
Is there a second? By Mr. Jeanette and Mr. Paul. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Mr. Chair. Resolution modifying the 2023 budget for solid waste for equipment repairs, recycling, and tipping fees, and building and property maintenance.
Seconded by Mr. Lightfoot and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? There's no discussion. This will be a roll call vote, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Fay,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes.
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 Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Hey, Mr. Chair, this resolution is for authorizing the chair to sign contracts for the 2022 Bridge New York project funded by the Bridge Formula Program, off-system for County Route 35, Slab City Bridge over Trout Brook, PIN 334-1700, PIN 77539.
And is there a second? Second by Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is for authorizing the chair to sign contracts for the 2022 Bridge New York project funded by the Bridge Formula Program, off-system for Lazy River Road, Grass River, VIN 34180, PIN 775.
And is there a second to the resolution? Second by Mr. Denisian, Mr. Perkins, and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution for amending resolution number 1712022, authorizing the chair to sign an agreement between the Department of Highways, Black Lake Chamber of Commerce Incorporated for informational center to be built and maintained county material storage site in the town of Morristown, include construction of a parking lot.
Seconded by Mr. Lightfoot, Mr. Perkins, and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Mr. Chair. This resolution is for authorizing the chair to sign an annual service agreement with Train US Incorporated for heating, venting, and air conditioning services for the Department of Highways.
And do we have a second? Second by Mr. Smithers and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is for authorizing collection of omitted taxes.
Is there a second by Mr. Burt, Mr. Lightfoot, and Ms. Kern? Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is for the adoption of the equalization rates for 2024 county taxes.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Perkins and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is for encouraging Governor Hochul to sign Senate Bill S-1466 and Assembly Bill A-250A, authorizing payments to non-participating or non-preferred providers of emergency medical services licensed under Article 30 of the Public Health Law.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Burke, Mr. Smithers, Mr. Lightfoot, Ms. Kern, Mr. Denisian, Mr. Reagan, and Mr. Webster. Any discussion? Ms. Kern.
This is a really important bill to all of the local municipalities, really all of the towns and villages in New York State. when there is a non-participating or non-preferred provider of insurance for an ambulance service. And the call goes out and that individual is given care by the ambulance service. The check does not go to the rescue squad that picks them up. It goes to the individual. Many times the individual just puts it in their bank and never pays the rescue squads. In our county, this could be a few $1 million a year, from what they've told me, of money that would actually be available to recruit, train, and keep EMS providers in our county at a time when people are not so interested in volunteering their time. And as we look around and think that maybe we'll sooner than later get to a system that is paid EMS in some circumstances, actually getting the money that insurance companies are already paying out to the system to actually go to the rescue squads would make a big difference in their ability to answer calls in the community and take care of patients pre-hospital, which if anybody like understands that first hour, we call it, is the difference sometimes in whether patients make it or not. It's very important that we support this.
Mr. Smith.
Could I be added as a co-sponsor to this?
Anyone else? Karen, have they got a record of the percentage of people that would actually do that? Keep the check and
In some counties, they said that they do. I'm trying to get our people to try to figure out what that percentage is. But they actually gave an example of one individual that calls weekly, goes to the hospital, and then signs off when they get there. And this county had gone as far as to try to involve the district attorney because they felt it was just fraud because he was not getting care. And the district attorney said there's nothing we could do, but they figured he was getting about $1,500 a week from his insurance company to be transported, only to turn around and call a cab to go home and never get any medical care at all.
yeah, I think they used to call that with pride wolf. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution is for urging New York State Legislator Governor Hochul to draft and enact legislation regarding the identification process for renters.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Perkins, Ms. Kern, Mr. Lightfoot, Mr. Webster, Mr. Fay, Mr. Sheridan, would you like to share? Mr. Perkins.
I'd like to offer an amendment to this resolution for the substitute resolution that's on your desk. And the changes are in bold and on this so that you can see.
And is there a second? By Mr. Denisha and Mr. Hall. Any discussion on the resolution? The amended resolution? Mr. Haggard,
Is this discussion on the resolution or the?
on the amended. The amended. Yeah. You good?
Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor of the amended resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion- Oh, Ms. Terminal. Now we'll vote on the actual resolution or have discussion. Is there any discussion on the original resolution? Mr. Haggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe I made my position on this pretty clear during committee. With the recommendations of the League of Women Voters and the reference to the number of people that would be marginalized by this. Voter ID laws create voter discretion, and there's proof of disenfranchisement by marginalized communities. Those communities that I mentioned were people over the age of 65, Latino citizens, Black voters, and low-income voters. So I will not be supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, or no, Mr. Webster first.
Yes, one thing, in 2019, the Heritage Foundation did a study that confirms voter ID laws do not hurt turnout elections. The National Bureau of Economic Research in 2008 to 2016 said voter ID had no negative effect on registration turnout or any specific groups defined by race, gender, age, or party affiliation. My opinion is anybody that's afraid to show ID, like we do for anything else, to drive, to set up social services, to buy guns or ammunition, to go in another country, it's probably, there's a reason why they don't want to show ID. If anybody does not do anything wrong, I don't think they'd be afraid to show ID. Thank you, and I will not, or I will be voting for this.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Mr. Perkins?
Thank you. First, I apologize for not being here at the committee to speak to this. Next, this was, resolution was sent to me from the St. Lawrence County Municipal Clerks Association. So I thought it was my duty to bring it forward, plus I agreed with it. I do find that you do need to show ID to vote. You have to show ID to vote for, or to do many things. Just as an example, you have to purchase a gun, to purchase ammunition, we know that, for a passport, to buy alcohol, to buy cigarettes, to buy lottery tickets, to buy cough syrup, to buy Sudafed, to go to certain movies, to buy a hunting license, to buy a fishing license, to throw a line in the water, to get a job when the law enforcement asks for it, to buy a spray paint, to write a check at a grocery store, or to even deposit any amount of cash, certain amounts of cash into a bank. I mean, you have to show ID for everything. And to say that you can't get ID is ridiculous, because you can get them at your local law enforcement. They give out non-driver IDs. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple to fill out a voter ID form. You really don't have to have much to fill one of these out. You can send in a utility bill. That doesn't prove that you're a citizen. And whereas in Article 2, Section 1 of the New York Constitution states, every citizen shall be entitled to vote. However, mass immigration has had a significant effect on American electoral politics. Despite the fact that it is a crime for non-citizens to vote in elections, non-citizens and illegal aliens are counted when apportioning congressional districts, meaning areas with large numbers of illegal aliens or so-called asylum seekers gain additional representation in Congress. According to NPR, written by Rachel Martin in 2021, New York City allowed 800,000 non-citizens to vote in local elections, although it is a violation of the New York State Constitution. And this is only one example showing that the value of the patriotic American citizen is diminished. However, we want to retain incentives for immigrants to naturalize and become citizens legal to vote. I've got a lot of stuff I could go on here with, but I know that it was discussed pretty good last Monday. I'll let it be there, and I hope everybody supports it.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Ms. Terminelli?
Thank you. Not opposed to showing identification at all, and actually I was totally in favor of last week's resolution. However, and I don't know if this was sent prior to, but I did my very best to research the changes in bold very quickly before the meeting tonight, which sometimes is a little bit of awkward pressure for sure. In my very quick Google search, Rachel Martin did not say that New York City allowed 800,000 non-citizens. Looking at the article right now, it said that if the legislation was approved, it would have allowed that to happen, but the legislation was actually voted down. So before we send these resolutions on to all of our elected officials, I think it's our due diligence to at least find the truth that is so quickly to be found via a quick Google search. So I am not going to support this because we have made glaring errors in our need to sometimes be a little controversial at our county meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Terminelli. Mr. Denisha Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've spoken with a large number of constituents in my district. I had none that did not support this resolution. I felt it was important. I voted in favor of the resolution a week ago. But I felt it was important that I talked to some of the folks that I represent. And it's a resounding yes. I feel it's strongly. And I think whether there's an error in here or not, which I think is important. They need to be needs to be accurate. I guess down to residents versus residents. Just because you're a resident of the United States, you're a resident of New York State, a resident of St. Lawrence County. If you're not a citizen, you're not guaranteed the right to vote in the U.S. Congress. Show some sort of ID. That's probably on.
Okay, so I got Mr. Smithers and Mr. Burke. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, whereas there's a question as to whether the validity of the fourth whereas, and I don't think that's crucial to this resolution, whereas the third whereas I think is important to leave in. I would propose an amendment to delete the fourth whereas from this amended resolution.
So you're making a motion
Yes,
to remove the fourth whereas.
yes.
Do I have a second by Mr. Hall? Okay. Discussion on the new amended resolution. Mr. Jeanette first.
Which, whereas, is that?
Number 4.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Perkins.
Okay. To talk to Ms. Terminelli's statement, December 15th, 2021, 5:06 a.m. heard on the morning edition. NPR's Rachel Martin. She speaks, lawmakers in New York City have approved legislation that will allow about 800,000 legal non-citizens to vote in local elections.
Yeah, and then in June, the court struck it down before it was ever used, or they didn't need to respond to that.
But thank you. Okay. That's important.
Ms. Tran.
What I was going to say, should we amend it? We'll get rid of it. Rick, do you?
I would not have any problem striking that fourth whereas.
Then I'll second that. Striking.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna strike the fourth whereas still on this amendment. Mr. Burke, I'm sorry, I missed you, so.
Dave, are we now talking about the resident as a whole?
No, we're still on number 4. We got to vote on that to amend it to delete. We've got an understanding we're going to delete number 4.
Save my turn.
Okay. Anyone else in this amended resolution? Wonderful.
Point of order.
Okay.
There's a question procedurally. When it's a friendly amendment, is there a board vote on a friendly amendment, or is that just accepted or rejected from the person proposing?
I'll turn that over to you certainly may.
We traditionally voted on friendly amendments. I will say that rules of procedure are technically would actually permit these sponsoring member groups. But once again, traditionally, we have voted on a.
Okay. So let's vote on this friendly amendment to delete paragraph whereas 4. All in favor of the resolution? Any opposed? Motion carried. Now back to the original resolution, which has been amended to delete fourth whereas. Mr. Burke.
Well, I won't be supporting it. We send a lot of resolutions down to Albany, and the general theme of most of the resolutions are hands off. We're working fine here in St. County. Don't be trying to fix what isn't broken. And actually, what we're asking here is for a new restriction It's not just statewide. We're asking for a new restriction on the here in St. Lawrence County. I've never heard a single complaint from any of the people I represent talking about any kind of fraud or potential for fraud. We sign our name. And by and large, the folks we represent have very good integrity. There is no issue from my perspective. Yet, we're gonna ask Albany to throw another curve for the people that we represent. I mean, I know where the issue is, I know where the issue comes from. But again, for me, I feel it's important to represent people here in St. Lawrence County and not throw an additional layer of bureaucracy on something that's simply not broke here. So I won't vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Anyone else? Mr. Hull.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with, or I feel some Ms. Haggard's concerns she shared about disenfranchisement of citizens who have the right to vote, but because of a particular expectation, maybe find it more difficult. I don't believe that the existence of that concern is the end of the argument, though. I believe we should pursue ensuring that those who vote are indeed citizens. And at the same time, we should be pursuing ways to help people who do have that constitutional right to vote, have the resources available to them to do it. Practical, informational, whatever it is. So I'd be interested if we as a board have the opportunity to be part of those kinds of endeavors locally. I would welcome that. I don't think it's a reason to reject a proposal like this. The concern of disenfranchising citizens from being able to exercise their constitutional rights is a valid one. I just want to point out, though, it's something that's rarely invoked when the conversation has to do with other constitutional rights, for instance, Second Amendment. I very rarely hear that argument used as a reason to rebuff state efforts to restrict the ownership and use of legal firearms or ammunition. So I would encourage us to be consistent with our application of that principle and also look into ways to help people who are indeed disenfranchised.
Thank you. Ms. Curran.
As long as we're Googling tonight, I would like all of us to Google how many countries have voter ID. Note how many different places in the United States have voter ID. I can tell you that at the tribe, you have to have your picture voter ID that you pay for. If it's expired, when you go to vote, you can't vote that year until you paid the $25 to get it renewed. Yeah, so I think that we have to look at what the rest of the world does. And if you Google, much of the rest of the world does have voter ID. They don't say, hey, you have to have it this November and start it on the beginning part of October. But I don't think there's any harm in ensuring that the people that are voting in the elections in the United States of America actually are citizens here. And I think sometimes we get all up in a thing about voter this, voter that. Guess what? If you look at the Constitution, of which if you need a copy, I have many ones. You do have to be a citizen in order to vote here. And I don't see why everybody gets all upset. Voter ID of any kind would have to be phased in a way that everybody would be able to get it. And if you don't think that people have identification, they do a lot of things. And I agree with Ben. If I go buy a 9mm shell right now, I have to give you my license and everything else, and they run a detailed background check on me. including, like my parking tickets and everything else, if I have any. And I pay $13 for it, I think, $25, something like that. So let's not give away some of our rights, some of our constitutional rights and like, not think about it.
Thank you, Ms. Kern. Mr. Smithers and Mr. Levitt.
I think if we're in touch with reality, we'll admit that times have changed from when we were younger. I used to be able to walk into a store and buy a beer. They'd look at me and say, yeah, you're 18. I'm 73 now. I still have to show picture ID when I go in the store. Fact is, we're in an age when people are concerned about fraud. Fraud is increased. It's increased a lot. We didn't used to worry about fraud as much as we do today. People talk about fraud all the time. And there's a lot of concern about voter fraud. This is just to ensure that people have more confidence in government. We need to do what we can to help people have more confidence in our government, in elections. Right now, it's at a pretty low point as far as confidence in the public, in their government, and in elections. We do need to encourage people to vote. Our voter participation is also very low. We need to encourage citizens to vote. So I will support this.
Thank you, Mr. Smithers. Mr. Levitt.
Mr. Chairman, when each of us, following our elections to the office of county legislature, we took an oath. I took an oath. That was to honor and defend and obey the Constitution of the United States as well as the Constitution of the state of New York. My feeling, and I'm speaking for myself, is that I've got a duty by taking an oath to honor what is in our Constitution. Men and women have died because of our Constitution, protecting the rights that it affords us folks here sort of left behind. I don't care what anybody else does, but I take it seriously when I swear an oath. And I've sworn many of them to tell the truth on a witness stand, many, many hundreds of times. I don't take any of that lightly. I take it seriously. And I take this specifically to be a very serious thing, where you have borders that are open to anybody that can make the Rio Grande River and walk across. And you can have Border Patrol that are orders from the President of the United States, as reported in the news, and from the Department of Justice, as reported in the news, to cut the razor wire that keeps these people in the river and not in the United States. So my feeling is that if I allow even one illegal alien into this country and allow that person to vote, it sort of negates my vote, doesn't it? And if any number, and we're looking at right now, the latest figure is they're coming across in numbers of 10,000 a day. That's a lot of voters that the Democrat Party is alleged to want to have here, hoping that these people will be sympathetic to the party that Mr. Biden represents and will vote for those of the same party. I don't doubt for a minute that that's the reason that we have a open border, and that definitely, whether it is or isn't right now, the possibility and the probability exists that it's going to have a big effect down the road if this is what happens. I, for one, am not willing to take that chance.
And I will vote in favor of this. And I'd ask you folks, if you take your oath seriously, think it over.
Thank you, Mr. Lightfoot. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to piggyback off Mr. Lightfoot. For all us that were defenders of the Constitution and holding it over that week, everybody outside the wire, we all have to carry it, even in the desert. So I don't think this is really that much of an ask. So
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sheridan, you have the floor.
I'm going to support this resolution as well, mainly because of the one of the more important paragraphs, which is paragraph 3, where it points out that mass immigration has had a significant effect on American electoral politics. And despite the fact that it's a crime for non-citizens to vote in elections, non-citizens and illegal aliens are counted when apportioning congressional districts. And therefore, meaning areas with large numbers of illegal aliens or so-called asylum seekers gain additional representation in Congress. And I think we all know here on this board full well the negative effects that are felt here in upstate New York because of the gerrymandering that already has been taking place here for years, because of the mass immigration over the years in New York City versus upstate. So I will be voting for it for that particular reason, and all the other ones in this. It's well written.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Perkins and Ms. Kern.
Okay. I'm not sure if there's voter fraud going on in St. Lawrence County or not. How do we know? I've talked to some people. They go in, they vote. They don't know the people. Doesn't look like their signature when they sign, especially with a stylus. We have no way of knowing, especially with the verification on the registration form. And Supreme Court Justice commented on the Constitution in 1883, Joseph Story. If aliens might be admitted indiscriminately to enjoy all the rights of citizens at the will of a single state, the Union might itself be endangered by an influx of foreigners, hostile to its institutions, ignorant of its powers, and incapable of a due estimate of its privileges. And to Ms. Curran's remarks, the United States and the United Kingdoms are the only democracies that don't have voter ID requirements. And we've got, as Mr. Lightfoot said, he said thousands a day. There's been 11,000, I think, at Eagle Creek passing daily. We've got millions coming in. And that is our current administration's treasonous actions, as I have said before. They should be arrested for it. They're allowing an invasion of our borders consisting of illegals, which many thousands are terrorists, gang members, they're murderers, and it's just increasing. It just makes sense. If you have to show a photo ID to buy a fishing license, what difference is it to ensure our democracy by showing this when we vote? And I would like to call the question and have a roll call vote, please.
Motion to call the question. Is there a second by Ms. Kern, Mr. Jeanette, Mr. Lightfoot, Mr. Wetcher, Mr. Ray? All in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Any opposed? Taggart. Noted. All in favor of the amended resolution?
Roll call. Yes.
Roll call.
Yes.
No.
Kern,
Yes.
Burke,
No.
Jeanette.
Aye.
Nelly. Kern. Aye. Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yeah.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yes.
Hilliard,
Yes.
Nisha,
Yes. Yes.
13 yes, 2 no.
Motion carried. Moving on, Mr. Jeanette.
Mr. Chair, resolution for authorizing the chair to sign a contract with the Northern Tier Contract Incorporated modifying the 2023 budget the St. Lawrence County former sheriff's house and jail roof sod alteration project.
I think you skipped one.
Good. All right. Modifying the 2023 budget for the county administrator's office for costs associated with document management.
And seconded by Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Fay,
Yes.
Packard,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli, yes, Karen,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul,
Motion carried, Mr. Jeanette.
Mr. Chair. Resolutions for authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Northern Tier Contracting and modify the 2020 budget with St. Lawrence County former sheriff's house, jail roof and facade alteration project.
And seconded by Mr. Denisha, Mr. Perkins, and Ms. Kern, Mr. Lightfoot, and Mr. West. Any discussion? I'd just like to say, I did my first tour last week. Not my ears, it's the first time I've done. Maybe when I was a kid, I was there. But that was my first tour, and it needs a roof. Everybody, thank you. Thank you very much. Roll call.
Packard,
Yes.
Webster,
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli.
Yes.
Karen. Aye. Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Smithers.
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul,
Aye.
Fay,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Mr. Jeanette.
Hey, Mr. Chair. Resolutions for modifying the 2023 budget for architectural and design services for public safety complex renovation.
And seconded by Mr. Denisha, Mr. Burke, Ms. Kern, Mr. Webster. Any discussion? This too, the roll call vote, please.
Webster.
Yeah.
Burke,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Aye.
Terminelli.
Yes.
Karen,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Forsythe,
Yeah.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Paul, Fay,
Yes.
Packard,
Yes.
15 yes.
Motion carried. Mr. Fay.
Authorizing the filling of vacancies.
And is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette, Mr. Burke, Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Ms. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution authorizing department heads to sign affiliation agreements with institutions of higher education, establishing the county departments as externship sites.
And second by Mr. Lightfoot and Mr. Jeanette. Any discussion? Mr. Ray.
Mr. Chair, can I address the question to the county administrator? What's the difference between externship and internship?
So the board may recall adopting the internship resolution, and I think it can look different depending on the university. Generally speaking, this is more of a shadowing type experience without payment. Often the internships will be for some type of payment up to and including credit for classes. Our public defender is here. If you wanted to hear a little bit about the specific externship that the board will or commissioner will allow.
Me.
And this one is through Syracuse Law School. They've just seen their part of their hybrid programming. And their director in externships, part of different resolution, and that's all.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Burke.
What level of education? Extra.
In this circumstance, it's the law school. So their second year, the person in my office is a second year law student.
What's that? Any more discussion? All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution for authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Donna Brown to provide assistance in training in the real property taxes.
In a second, Mr. Lightfoot, Mr. Burke, Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an appointment for interim director of public health. Sorry. This is appointing, the resolution is entitled appointing an interim director of public health for St. Lawrence County.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Kern, Mr. Jeanette. Did I read the name prior to the vote? Yep. Okay, now therefore resolved, Carly Zimmerman will assume the position of interim director of public health at a salary of $102,890. And she will commence on October 3rd, 2023, until the permanent appointment of director of public health at St. Lawrence. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we move on to county administrator.
Yes, a few items to update you on. First is on the asbestos removal that I've been keeping you updated in B48 of the courthouse. Last Tuesday, the contractor finished the abatement of the asbestos. On Wednesday, there was a visual inspection completed, air samples gathered. On Thursday, the air samples were reviewed and approved for occupation. And as of Friday, the contractor removed the monitoring equipment and their containment and renovation work resumed. So the reports are available to you, and they should complete the renovation work by this Friday. So we're happy to have that project in hand and almost complete. The bids for public safety complex that we have long awaited should be going up this Friday. Final reviews are underway. I will let you know when those have been released. The vacancy review committee will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. There are 12 vacancies to be reviewed in 8 departments. And on Wednesday, the Chamber of Commerce is offering guidance associated with advertising for new positions. So I forwarded that to our HR staff as well as our administrative staff and department heads to participate if they can. I think that we all can use a refresh of how we're advertising for positions and certainly look more competitive among the many vacancies that we see online. On last Friday, Commissioner Seaver and I toured the vacant space in Governor. This is the location that formerly housed the addiction services there. The probation department continues their services in that location. And we are talking about bringing forward a proposal to ask the board to consider a third satellite location for social services. So we have found great success in Ogdensburg. I can still confirm that we've yet to lose an employee from that location. Messina is off the ground and doing well. And so we are looking again at a further reach into Governor, which really gets to the southern portion of the county and prevents folks from that additional 45 minutes to an hour commute into camp. So we'll be putting some information together and looking to talk over that. A reminder that there's no meeting next week. County offices that do not perform the 24/7 functions will be closed for the day. Operations will take place on the 16th. Services on the 23rd and finance on the 30th. And that is when the 2024 tentative budget will be presented. Wanted to give you a reminder of the civic clerk program that you authorized our office to acquire. We've been working through getting that program up and running, and we're working toward getting departments trained later this month. That will take over the function and process of agenda management. And our hope and goal at this time is to bring that online for all of you in January. So what we're hoping to do is run parallel for a few months and make sure that your experience is the same as that it is today. That you can access the agendas in a much easier way and find the information. provided through Civic Clerk. And then I wanted also just to mention that Chair Forsyth and I attended the annual recognition for employees years of service last week. That 16 people honored. 2 of those had over 35 years of service. And they will be honored next month. You'll remember that every November we do the annual longevity for 30 and 35-year employees. So we will be preparing for that very soon. Let me go forward with my next.
Anyone have any? I'm gonna have one. What I started this spring after my first NISAC convention was I think it's important that all attendees give some sort of report. Tell us what they learned, what they attended, and what they got out of this. And also, I think it's good to have a budget established and know what we spend on this. Total cost today, $7,197.52, of which 48% of that was registration fees, with approximately $34.6150. The remaining balance would have been for rooms,
The registration also.
and that included. So that was the cost of the account. So first on the list is Ms. Kern. Would you like to give a brief?
I would be happy to, thank you.
Thank you.
And you may know or may not know, I am a sitting member on the Standing Committee for Agricultural and Rural Affairs. This year, we really talked a lot about the Farm Bill and all of the different things that it does. I did not really realize, until I got on this committee, that the temporary assistance for families that goes to social services comes out of the Farm Bill. So when they rejected the Farm Bill, it means that we will be kind of sitting there at the old rates for who knows how long until they decide to vote on it and pass it. But it was a little bit over $1 billion this year, 1.123, I think, $1 billion worth of temporary assistance in there for food and other things that families need. So as it sits there, I have to go back and dig through to find the number, but I think it's the 1958 rates we sit on until such a time as that comes through. So that's really the whole meeting we had for agricultural and rural affairs. And then you get over to the Standing Committee on Public Health and Mental Health. So, it was kind of notable. They did a resolution supporting moving to put all of the adult vaccines into the NICES system. The NICES system is the electronic medical record that they put the children's vaccines in. But if we start recording everything for adults, it'll mean that when grandpa goes to Kinney's, he gets maybe a flu shot. Then when he stubs his toe and ends up in the hospital, he doesn't get another flu shot and yet another flu shot. We had one person there that the father had gotten 3 flu shots in one season. So they're supporting having all adult vaccines going into that as well. I think it will save people the trouble of trying to find where they got all their vaccines as time goes by when they go to travel or they go to school or really anything. If you go back to higher learning, you have to have all your vaccines and titers and everything else from birth. Number 2 was a resolution in support of making chickenpox a reportable vaccine again. For years, chickenpox was just chickenpox, but there are groups that do not vaccinate who kind of have chickenpox. But notably, as of late, we're seeing a reemergence of chickenpox and other otherwise vanished diseases. Some of it, they admitted, was through people coming here and not having their vaccinations checked. When people come to this country, if you come from Sweden to travel, we don't check your vaccines before. People just come in and they have. So you've seen such an increase in chickenpox that it's now a state reportable disease, or it will be again. The other thing is we are urging New York State to increase the doula reimbursement. The studies for, does everybody know what a doula is? Like a birthing coach. So by increasing the reimbursement for doula services, it shows a decrease in the percentage of C-sections that women end up having by having a birth coach. So they felt that that was very important to make people be able to have that. Because private pay people can pay, right? If you want to have a baby, you can afford a doula. But for the Medicaid patients, there was really very few that could get it for the cost of what they allowed. They've increased that so that perhaps they can get better care. And lastly, a permanent carve out for school-based health centers, services for Medicaid managed care, and a benefit package kind of rolled in so that the school-based care could be more of a fee for service model. So you could afford to get practitioners that would go there to do it. That's good. But last but not least was, you already saw in a resolution, the EMS funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hager?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I don't know that I'll have the amount of detail that legislator Curran has, but I will tell you that I sit on the committee for children with special needs. We have several resolutions, two of which I've asked Mrs. Doyle to consider for our group of resolutions we put forward. Once again, asking to take the cost of preschool transports to schools. That's come up several times. And also, because occupational therapists and physical therapists are, thank you so much, are allowed, the assistants are allowed to practice limitedly, and there's a licensing program for that in the state. The committee is asking that this be extended to include speech pathologists. We are very, very short of these type of providers in the entire state, particularly in St. Lawrence County. And this would allow some of the assistants to have a limited license for supporting speech pathology. I thought that was very important. I had the pleasure of attending the Public Health and Mental Health Committee meeting. As Ms. Curran stated, she's on that committee. I just wanted to add an addendum to the doula issue that she brought up for Medicaid. And a lot of that resolution talked about maternal mortality on low income and Black mothers in particular. So it's very, very important. The workshops I attended were Mr. Button's excellent presentation on tax delinquent foreclosure process, which we're all well aware of, and that was very well attended, and of course everyone's interested in that. A workshop on opioid settlement funds, also pathways to clean energy, and I appreciate the board supporting our attendance on that. It's very, very informational.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hager. Josie.
First session that I attended, I sit on the Standing Medicaid and Human Services Committee. So we had a couple resolutions that we prepared, send down to all the first one, urging the governor of New York State Legislator to become a true partner by focusing on rent allowance and standard of need, which must include the restoration of 50/50 cost sharing for safety net programs, and provide actual brick and mortar solutions by making permanent housing the central focus. And the other one, which we have been talking about, is resolution urging the New York State congressional delegation to clarify the distribution model of the Affordable Care Act enhanced federal medical assistance percentage fund. So there's been a lot of confusion over what rate they're going to have us do the clawback of the EFNF fund. After that, I sat in the Public Health and Mental Health session with Ms. Curran and Ms. Hager. I attended a session on policy development for municipalities that was presented by the other county's comptrollers. They tended to, as a presenter, focus more on policies regarding fiscal practices and ethical standards regarding fiscal practices. It was very good. And the other that I went to was
based on fiscal analysis and fiscal forecasting based on these cases. So some very good information. And then I had to leave at one point and go to Albany for my commissioners meeting, but then return. Yeah. Experience.
Thank you, Mr. Seaver. Ms. Doyle.
So I did want to just start by saying these standing committees that you're hearing about, I'd like to run through the list if it's okay, because if there's any interest that any of you have, they're always looking for members. And certainly it's valuable information to be shared back in our county. There's agricultural and rural affairs, climate action, children with special health care needs, economic development, environment and energy, intergovernmental affairs, which I serve on, Medicaid and human services, Native American affairs and gaming, public health and mental health, public employees relations, public safety, tax and finance, which I'm the chair of, and transportation and public works. So if you have any interest, we're certainly happy to put your name forward to be considered for membership on a committee. I was able to attend the committee that I chair, taxation and finance, happened to be scheduled at the same time as intergovernmental affairs. That committee took up a resolution, just one this time, on asking Governor Hochul to veto legislation regarding the even year elections. So that was the substance of their work this year. I provided a couple of weeks ago, a short-term rental discussion that took place, as well as pulling in both our county attorney as well as Greene County attorneys to have the interim tax foreclosure discussion, a preamble to the panel discussion that took place. My afternoon was obligated to the resolutions committee, which looks at all of those that all the standing committees have taken up. And one unusual thing that happened this time was a resolution wasn't put forward by the delegation for consideration and adoption. And that was a resolution surrounding the change in law, the request to change the law to allow temporary restraining orders to be placed on civil matters. And the committee didn't feel as though they were well informed enough, too many potential ambiguities associated with the context with which you could request, and so we did not put that forward. I've never been a part of a resolutions committee where they didn't just forward everything along. Sometimes with comments, but that was a little bit unusual and I think worthy to send back to the committee for some additional work. I also attended the plenary session regarding artificial intelligence, which was somewhat terrifying and very educational. I attended it with our IT director, Rick Johnson, and we were really able to understand a little bit more both about the fear of it and the governance and regulation that's needed. So that was really, I think, a good opportunity for municipalities to understand. I believe in some counties they're using AI for their phone tree, for example, to route people. They have the little boxes pop up that we all see on their government website to say, how can I help you? And they help you direct right to the information that you're seeking. So there are some great uses for it. And there are also some very concerning uses of it. So that was really educational for us. I also attended a session on the opioid settlement funds, which after tremendous technology challenges, we were able to hear both the harm reduction and OASIS approach to caring for individuals who struggle with addiction, but also talking about some of the efforts counties are making and using their opioid settlement funds for. And a couple of those I brought back to further investigate, ask copies, of course, not reinventing the wheel always, but a public-private partnership. Oneida County and Saratoga County presented at this panel discussion. And in Oneida County, they partnered with ACR Health to provide public health kiosks. And so these are placed in areas where folks can anonymously take materials to assist in the situations that they're dealing with. Certainly, they talked about anti-stigma campaigns. They talked about trying to engage children as they're transitioning from junior high to senior high and pulling folks in to have that discussion about drug use, addiction. But also they talked about the naloxone boxes. They talked about purchasing in Saratoga County FTIR, which tests the contents of drugs. So some of you probably are aware over the last few months, we've seen opioid spikes that you've seen notifications of. This would be an opportunity to test those drugs coming in that they're taking a look at. One of the interesting parts that they talked about was they started their work, what the needs were in their county with their top chip process, which our public health department and every health department takes on statewide. So I think that's a good area we could take a look at for our county to see what the needs may be and how we may serve them better. And lastly, related to the opioid settlement discussion, they looked at the overdoses for 3 years and they mapped them. And they noticed that they were in certain areas and they focused in their convenience stores and they placed some resources for folks to use, whether it's Narcan, things of that nature. And they did it with the chain called Cumberland Farms. I think what I understood it to be as much like a Stewart's is up in here. So it was really interesting to hear how their strategies change and adapt to address the issues that they're facing. So that's certainly some information that I brought back. I'm very interested to find out more about.
Thank you. Steve, you were there. Do you want to you were just more as a speaker.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add other than what Mrs. Hager had to say, but I have now, I've listened to all of you, observed how many of you did not call me curious. And I've taken note. Sure. This administrator.
I already get to hear you speak.
Yes. Just so that you're aware, Chairman, I am taking my show on the road, this county treasurer, we are headed to Chicago for the national tax. Week. Talk more about that, so it'll be a moment.
Thank you very much. And I've heard you.
Yes.
I love it to death. I just thought the seating might be limited, so I didn't want to. I don't know if Renee is here. That's fine. Myself, once again, I attended the Indian Land Claims. The resolution they brought forward, same as we did in the spring, encouraging the state. Some of these counties still haven't gotten any of the compact money since 2019. I think we're up to date till third quarter of 21, fourth quarter. So people are looking for that money. We're going to draft a letter to go along with the resolution. It was recommended by Senator Speck, Senator Walls, and Councilman Gray. And then they will follow through with our letter, and they gave us the appropriate places. That's an issue with everyone. The second warning was the chair's breakfast, which was, you know, it was nice. It was very nice, but really migration took up almost the whole thing. The migrant issue is everyone's concern. It's not going away. It seems to be coming full speed on, and with a lot of people concerned with that, and rightly so. Right. Later in the day, I did attend the employee relations, labor management type stuff, how to treat Article 75s and employee discipline. Everything should be in writing. So that was informative, to say the least. I attended with Mrs. Haggard. We attended the mandates. More bad news from New York. So that's always fun to listen. And last but not least, without a doubt, I signed up to go see the drone with Jefferson County Sheriff Bill Johnson. And I think, yeah, I'm going to go see the drones. I want to see these drones. So we go in and they gave a presentation on how they utilize drones in municipalities now. They go and do your roofs, check your roofs for damage. They have thermal imaging, so they can pick a part of your roof. They do it just that dark that may have been letting moisture in. So where you might want to replace the old roof, they say, hey, when this southwest corner of this structure, that's what needs addressing. So I thought that was unique. It does the same for windows and doors. Seems everything's getting out. And I said, okay, so now we're gonna go to the next part. I thought, I'm gonna see these drones fly. Well, I never saw the drones fly the whole day. It was over 3 hours. It was supposed to be a 2-hour event. It was over 3 hours. And then they took us down, when you talk public partnership, public-private, it was on Rome Air Force Base. And what they've done, when they shut the Air Force Base down, this group came in. And they are the most high-tech people I've ever seen in my life. And when I woke up Thursday morning, I was feeling kind of smart. You know, I said, gee, I'm really average, a bit above average. When I left that place, whole day was done. I go, this is the most incredible place you ever want to see. They can make a computer chip smaller than the thumbnail. And John, you'll love this, Mr. Jeanette. The old computer programming of ones and zeros is gone. This is this new mega gig something that they do.
Binary.
And yeah, and then the games and all the stuff they added on, and they had terms that I'd never heard, and I didn't want to ask a question with the IPOs and all this stuff. But but it's amazing. So then they take you to different segments. So this one young guy was there, and to protect these systems, they take it down to natural, what is it called? Natural zero, not 0 degrees Fahrenheit, Celsius. Absolute zero, which is 1,300 degrees below everything. So they have to use helium, and I think he said they heated the helium in order to get it to that temperature to make these so they can't be penetrated or messed with. And then they showed us the drones and the manufacturing of the drones. And then they showed us where they fly the drones in the big B-52 hangars. And then, still didn't get to see drones, but then they took us, the last part was what they're doing with these drones. And it was just, they had maps all laid out, and all these people are so smart that it's incredible. FAA had been in there. These drones can't fly using traditional radar. FAA said, you're gonna clog our systems, you know, we gotta come up with something. So they have their own system of navigation. Okay, so they have these maps around, and they show these maps. And through this map, say you have a cancer patient at upstate medical facility, they can fly from Rome Air Force Base, the medication, deliver it to the rooftop of upstate medical. Then there's a robot that goes up, collects the medication, mixes it to whatever it needs to be, and then delivers it to the room where it belongs to go. And now what they want to do is tie that into Plattsburgh. So they showed a roadmap, and they had all these dots and all these red things, and I'm looking, and this is and I said, these are the roads and bridges of the early 1900s. This is what they must have done in the early 1900s, doing the roads and bridges. And the brigadier general over the side goes, that's exactly the analogy. That's exactly what we're doing. We are building the roads and bridges for drones. For this, and it is just incredible. And they work with the Department of Defense, they work with the Air Force, and I felt a whole lot safer than what. So they were absolutely incredible. And I wasn't the only one that was home on the bus ride home. Besides that, met with the assemblyman, Mr. Scott Ray was there, Ken Blankenbush was there, Barton Judas, we use them all the time. Got a great relationship with those guys. So I was always opposed to this. I always said it's wasting money. You know, I couldn't wrap my head around it, and it is absolutely not wasting money. It is absolutely so. But I think it's important that everyone hear what we did at 10. I know it's a shorter version. But what we did at 10, and we're just not down there goofing around, and the things that you can bring back and share with our people and our residents. And I think it's important. So thank you. Is there any more old or new business? Mrs. Hager.
I don't know how this fits in, and I don't know if everybody else knows this, and I just found out. But Charlotte Cena from Moreau State Park has been found in good health.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Perkins.
My absence last Monday, I took the opportunity to try to watch the meeting on the county website through Zoom. Absolutely horrible. Cannot hear anybody. Can't hear anybody in the back row. Couldn't hear much at the front table. Hear a few things here and there, but it really was not good. And I think it's a disservice to our public. We might want to look into it. Yeah. But I hadn't listened to it before. I was very surprised.
Any more old or new business? Moving on to committee reports. Any committee reports? No committee reports, executive session. Yeah,
We do for litigation, negotiations, and 3 appointments.
I have a motion. Favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to appointments, Ms. Curran.
Thank you for the Environmental Management Council, term to expire 10/3/2025. I have Michael Everson, 40 cents Riverside Drive, Canton.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeanette. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appointed. And Mr. Jeanette.
Thank you, Sheriff, for the St. Lawrence County Recreation Advisory Board. Terms expired 9/11/2026 versus Kevin Dill. 654. Second was Ray Pendergraft or Pendergraft. Parish Bill 136.
And is there a second? Second by Ms. Kern and Mr. Perkin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Second. Second.